And we are live here on Lakers Not So Late Night. It's actually, I guess, just Lakers late afternoon today. I'm Harrison Fagan, filling in for Anthony Irwin, who is the normal host, but he's old. He needs to get his afternoon nap in. This game just wasn't going to work for him, so I'm filling in today. So the Lakers just lost to the Knicks, and joining me is I have the pleasure of having my longtime Silver Screen and Roll colleague and my go-to for all CBA matters, Ben Rosales. Ben, as a fellow Chargers fan, I know you're like me and you're just happy that we can save that after that normal Sunday afternoon pain for like a Monday night, right?
Exactly. Although my fantasy team is still suffering, so I could still feel some of those pains before the Chargers do their thing and make me rip my hair out. Even worse than Byron makes me rip my hair out.
Yeah. And then on the other end of the spectrum, in terms of like time at Silver Screen and Roll, we have actually our newest rookie, Chinmay Vaidya, who has been killing it on the post-game recaps lately, and so we thought we'd bring him onto the show for a little bit of live rookie hazing. How are you doing, Chinmay?
I am doing good. Pleasure to be on the show, and not so excited to talk about another Laker loss, but thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, I have a feeling if you come on these shows with any frequency this season, that may be kind of the go-to result that we're discussing. If they can't beat the Knicks, it seems like it's heading that way because the Knicks are pretty bad. But so first, I guess we'll get right into it. I wanted to talk about Kobe had as many field goal attempts as Julius Randle and D'Angelo Russell combined. So, Ben, at what point does this become an issue that Byron, what point, it's already at the point where he should address it. At what point do you think he actually will, or do you think that we're ever going to get there?
I don't think, his MO to this point has been enabling Kobe in nearly every way possible. I mean, you look at the late game offense, it was engineered specifically. They abandoned any semblance of real offense just to get Kobe the ball in ISO. So I mean, Byron's from the start has never been a guy who's put the team's welfare ahead of Kobe's welfare. I mean, the only thing that Byron's ever taking taking responsibility for in a really public way was playing Kobe too many minutes last year. And I mean, maybe to be fair, I mean he is doing slightly better in that respect this year. But when Kobe is out there, I mean the offense is utterly subordinated upon him. I mean, maybe there reaches a point where Byron feels his job is threatened. But by the same token, I mean Byron's job is honestly threatened right now. The team has maybe one more winnable game this month, and they might be 2-12 by the time the month runs out. So I mean, and he's not willing to kind of corral Kobe in order to preserve his job. So I don't think he's going to be willing to corral Kobe at any point this season if he lasts that long.
Do you agree, Chinmay, or do you think that there's hope of something like that? We see Byron start to add, either publicly or privately tell Kobe, okay, you need to rein it in a little bit.
Privately, he might, but publicly, I don't think he's going to do that. We've seen this before. Byron is not really a coach when it comes to talking to Kobe. He's more of a friend. He never really holds Kobe accountable. He's always defended Kobe publicly. So privately, I could see something where he tells Kobe maybe take a little less shots, try to get the younger guys involved. But publicly, he's going to be out there supporting Kobe 100%.
Yeah. Sadly, I kind of agree. And we thought that we were seeing a little bit of progress earlier in the season. Kobe was saying, I suck, I'm the 200th rated player. It seemed, and then all through training camp, he was talking about how he had to step back. He had to give the young guys their shot to develop. And they've said all the right things and then went out and done. That's been, I think, the most frustrating aspect of it. Well, I guess Byron Scott has not said all the right things, but Kobe, for the most part, he's said the things that you would hope that he would be saying, and talking about mentoring the young guys, taking a step back, being more of a playmaker, picking his spots in the offense, then letting them make it easy on him, and they've just done the exact opposite of that. And part of it, I think, today was it's most likely his last game in the Garden. That's what it sounded like from all of his quotes. Maybe he wanted his last Garden moment. Obviously didn't end up getting it, but maybe he was just kind of literally shooting for the stars and trying to to have one more memorable game in MSG where he seems to really enjoy playing. Do you guys think that there's any possibility of that, and maybe he starts to take it down a notch a little bit after this, kind of like he did after he passed Jordan in scoring last year? Ben?
Well, shortly after he passed Jordan scoring last year, he got injured and kind of made it a moot point. I mean, Kobe is who he is at this point. I mean, he's demonstrated that he's not. I mean, it's the thing that's propelled him to this point. It's the thing that's now to his detriment that he's unable to kind of pull the foot off the gas pedal and play. I mean, it's weird. I mean, in the context of the same game, you look at this game. Kobe was getting good shots to start. I mean, the Knicks were playing off him. He was getting his legs to his shot.
He started out 3 of 5. The first quarter. He was looking pretty good.
Right. He looked good. I mean, the shots were generally in the flow, more in the flow of the offense, and then that kind of fell apart a bit. But then at the start of the third, he was facilitating. I mean, he made a nice cross-court pass. I remember to Lou Williams. He made the nice interior pass to Tariq Black and a few others I don't quite recall. But I mean, that's the kind of approach where, I mean, Kobe chooses his spots more. He waits for what the defense gives him, and he acts as a playmaker. How he should deal with things, but in context of the same game, you go to the fourth quarter and he's suborned the offense onto himself, and it's just ISO. And I mean, obviously, previously in his career, I mean, these are the shots it's through sheer application of talent, athleticism, and footwork, he's able to get these off. But now, I mean, he just hasn't changed his approach to the game since, I mean, he at his peak. And I mean, it's showing right now. And I mean, this is kind of
honestly, we could say high school.
Yeah, well, yeah. So I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I don't. At this point, I mean, it feels kind of too much to wish to see Kobe ever kind of dial things back, because it is who he is. But I mean, that's the point where, I mean, you have the coach who comes in and say, hey, this is what we want you to run. This is how we'd like you to use your. I mean, Kobe's always resisted coaches in that respect. He resisted Phil in that respect. So I mean, he's going to, of course, resist everyone else. But I mean, he might say, okay, like, I might give more lip service to the idea of facilitating or the idea of spotting up or what have you. And I mean, with Byron enabling him, I mean, there's no indication that he needs to pull back on this. I mean, I say it's going to continue.
Yeah, well, and then arguably the most frustrating thing about it is he knows he's playing bad. He's publicly talked about that he's playing bad, and it seems like he's just trying to shoot himself out of it. Chinmay, do you think that there ever becomes a point this season where if he continues playing like this, where it's not good, he's kind of almost tarnishing the memories, like his legacy in a way, because people are going to remember this as like his Jordan and with the Wizards year, where people are going to remember it, but they want to forget it. Do you think that maybe he starts to just get it at some point, that he's playing really badly and he needs to take a step back, or do you think that he continues trying to shoot himself out of it?
It's almost a lose-lose situation, because if Kobe starts hot, he's going to continue to take shots, and then if he doesn't start hot, he's the type of player who thinks, I just need more reps to get my shooting going. So I don't think he's going to ever rein it in. He's averaged 19.5 field goal attempts per game for his whole career, and that's including his rookie year where he didn't play a whole lot, and 2 years ago when he only played 6 games. So he's taken a lot of shots. He's going to continue to take a lot of shots. And for I guess for the hardcore sports Lakers fans, they're going to see this as his last years were him totally falling off a cliff. But to the average Lakers fan, I don't think it's going to tarnish his legacy in any way. He's always going to be known for the guy who hits shots down the stretch.
Well, allow me to interject really quickly, since so we've talked a lot about the Time Warner Cable guys, kind of, for lack of a better word, kissing Byron's ass. I mean, especially,
oh man, come on, you're getting me in trouble with my new friends now.
Especially, poor Harrison, especially James Worthy, but Michael Cooper, apparently on the postgame show, said, and I quote, "Kobe's preventing this team from becoming good." And
Wow.
wow.
Wow. That's
prop-
the strongest Kobe take I've heard from that network.
So I would like to raise a glass to Michael Cooper, who is the first guy in living memory who's actually gone out and said that on Time Warner. So major props to him.
May he rest in peace. But anyway, so Michael Cooper is saying that Kobe is preventing the young guys from being good. Speaking of that, Russell played the least minutes of any starters today, D'Angelo Russell, and he he was in and out down the stretch for Lou Williams, who was, it should be noted, also playing bad. It's not like Lou Williams has earned his minutes like in a Ronnie Price way by being hard-nosed on defense and all this stuff that Byron supposedly likes. He's basically earned it, I guess, just because he's older and has a proven track record. I don't know what the deal is here. And people are freaking out. But I tweeted out that it looked like that Kobe went out, or that Russell went out at the end of the game, and the silver screen and roll mentions were not pretty. Like Byron, if you're watching this, you shouldn't go in there. Should not go and look. But Chinmay, do you think that people are overreacting a little bit? Maybe they should be patient and the minutes will come, which is the stuff that a lot of the beat guys have kind of kept saying is their feelings on it based on what they've been told, that he'll start to earn those minutes later in the season and he'll start to play more and everybody should just calm down? Or do you think that there's any reason to not just be playing him now?
There's no reason to not be playing him now. He actually did play more minutes than Williams today, but like you said, down the stretch, it was Lou who was given the nod. I think we have to remember that Russell's only 19 years old, and you don't want to throw a guy in and have him just come out overawed by the game. I mean, this guy has, I guess, the highest bust probability of anybody in the draft according to metrics. So there's a chance that you throw him out there and he just gets too overawed by the game, too many turnovers, forces too many bad passes. But at the same time, the only way he's going to learn how to get better is by playing more minutes. So it's kind of, again, almost a lose-lose situation in terms of how to manage your second overall pick, who you have such high hopes for.
Yeah. But, I mean, I agree with Chinmay that, at least from the perspective that if Russell was struggling, or at least we could see signs that game was kind of a bit much for him, and it happens with a lot of rookies. I mean, you put them in there, and it's clear that they shouldn't play because overwhelming them is a detriment to their long-term development. But at least as far as we're seeing Russell, I mean, and not to say that Russell doesn't have things to work on, but he does look comfortable out there. I mean, he's positive things out there, and he doesn't look like a game. I mean, if anything, he's taking the game too slow. He should be a bit faster, so it's a weird turn on the usual rookie point guard issues. But as far as we can see, I mean, Russell's he played well tonight. I mean, I thought his shot didn't go down. Something I thought a few of his shots could have been better placed, but he was making good passes. He was really active in the passing lanes. I thought he was especially good in that respect. Right. So, and he did that well last game also. His anticipation there, I think, is something we'll have to look at in the future, where, I mean, he's starting to make these reads. I mean, as he makes these reads on offense, he's starting to make these reads on defense, which is great to see by all accounts. So, I mean, in a vacuum, I agree with Shimmy. I agree with you that, I mean, that's what you have to kind of treat rookies, especially at that age, with kind of with gloved hands. But by the same token, I mean, Russell doesn't. It's not clear to me that Russell should be necessarily treated in that same way. So I mean, and I'm not saying either play 36 minutes or so. I mean, but a modest increase to 32 and not be benched in the fourth quarter would be, I think, warranted.
Yeah, I don't think that he necessarily even needs that many more minutes than he's playing right now. I'd just like to see him kind of in those crunch time minutes where you have to win the game's in the balance, and see that trust in him. I think that would be good for his development. And if he makes mistakes, then those are good learning opportunities. He's going to learn a lot more from playing in the game, I think, than from getting splinters in his ass on the bench, as Byron would say.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. And I also think another point is that he hasn't really been put in situations where he can succeed. If you look at Russell's skill set, he has a really smooth shot and probably the best court vision from a young player that I've seen in a long time. and he doesn't run that many pick and rolls, which is what that skill set is really good for. So it's not like he's been put in position to succeed either. So that's probably something that with time, hopefully, we'll see that.
Yeah, right. It's like Ben. It's like you were saying. He's looked comfortable out there, and I agree with that to a certain extent. I think that he's looked comfortable when they've let him run the pick and roll. But when he's standing around waiting for the offense to develop, he still looks kind of a little lost out there. He just isn't really ready for that. I saw a couple times early in the game, he was just kind of waiting for stuff to develop until eventually Kobe came and took the ball from him.
Well, I should note that it should be noted that that's the design of the offense. I mean, no. I mean, it's not that he's uncomfortable. It's that he's running. He's being a good point guard. He's running his coach's offense, and the coach's offense just happens to be this abominable college system where, I mean, and that's a college set. I mean, where you run because it's a 35-second clock. The guy holds the ball at the wing. You wait for the appropriate motion to go. Guys run off cuts. Then you pass the ball to the guy who emerges out of the back cut, starts on a curl, and then someone takes a shot. And it's a very elementary college offense. I mean, it is what it is. So I'm not necessarily it's an issue of Russell's comfort. Although I mean, he might be looking at this and be like, what is this? This is bizarre.
That's kind of what I meant. I think we're playing semantics a little bit. I just meant it looks like he understands that it's not necessarily what he should be doing. Right. He looks out of place, I guess would be a better way to put it.
Yeah,
that's right.
In the running in circles and wait for something to happen offense.
Yeah.
Run in circles until Kobe comes and gets the ball off.
Yeah.
But
very familiar with that offense here at Missouri, the Frank Haith offense.
That is true. I had a chance to watch a few games of the conference the last few years. I was watching a lot of Kansas, and I'm not. I can see how there are questions of how Clarkson would do coming out of the draft because that offense is a
Hey, so we should really thank you for Clarkson's draft stock being so low, then I guess, or thank your coach.
You can thank Frank Haith for that.
Yeah.
So thank you, Frank Haith. But anyway, so speaking of Clarkson and Randle and the rest of the young guys, what did you think of their games tonight, Ben?
I thought Clarkson missed a lot of easy shots. I mean, he was getting open for opportunities off the pick and roll, just not converting. He was also missing a few bunnies at the rim in transition and coming off the picks I thought he normally would get. I mean, and even taking the length on the Knicks into consideration. I mean, I wanted Robin Lopez this past summer. I'm happy we got Hibbert, but Robin Lopez is a good defender. Porzingis is clearly much better than people thought he would be off the bat, and he's impacting guys at the rim. So, I mean, between the two of them, I mean, it was hard for both Clarkson and Randle to finish, but even so, I thought Clarkson wasn't doing that well in those situations. Although I will say that one thing that's been a noted improvement for Clarkson's game this season has been his catch-and-shoot game from three. He's been really effective to kind of, especially when he gets the catch, and he kind of takes that one really quick dribble and hops into his shot. He really elevates since he's really fucking athletic, and then and those have been going down quite a bit so far. So on a whole, he didn't shoot quite well tonight, but I mean that catch and shoot game's down. That's quite the development going forward. And as for Randle, I mean he struggled with the trees. I mean it's the same thing with the Sacramento game against Cauley-Stein and Cousins. I mean as we might expect, he has troubles against length, and also he has troubles. I mean the Lakers. I mean this is a problem as Chinmay alluded to with Russell earlier. I mean he's not really getting the ball in advantageous situations. I mean, previous games, he's kind of succeeded despite the offense just forcing him essentially to ISO off the wing over and over again when he really needs to be catching the ball on the roll more often in motion. And that's how you kind of neutralize the shot blockers when you get them out of position. And I mean, especially with the guy with Randle's speed, he catches the ball on the roll, he's already moving to the rim so fast. And I mean, it's a lot easier for him to finish in those situations. And his game was essentially reduced to trying to shoot jumpers over Porzingis, and as you might expect, that wasn't exactly a recipe for success. Although I will say that he managed to contribute in a few other areas of the game. His rebounding was very good. His effort clearly was there. I mean, his motor never really turned off, so that was good to see. And he did manage to get a few dimes. So, I mean, altogether, rough shooting night, but he's still the fact that he's managing to contribute in other aspects was still pretty encouraging.
Speaking of Porzingis, Byron Scott made some headlines earlier this week when he was saying he's going on his "I'm going to talk about guys that we didn't pick in the draft" tour. And so we hit Porzingis yesterday, and he was saying that he didn't really think he was NBA ready when they evaluated him. They thought he would be good a couple years down the line, but they didn't think he was NBA ready, basically. Chinmay, what did you think of Porzingis today and how he played against the Lakers? Ben obviously thought pretty highly of his effort. I thought he played pretty well. What did you think?
I thought he played pretty well as well. I actually had Porzingis winning the Rookie of the Year this year. And
bold choice.
Wow.
I think I
hope you put money on
that. If it all comes together for Porzingis, he's going to be remembered as the best player in this draft. That's the upside that you get with a guy like Porzingis. You see all the tools there in different spurts for him. I think the problem with Byron Scott saying why the Lakers didn't take so-and-so player is you're going up against that player the next day. And
can you say this?
It's one thing to say it after the game when it's over, but it's another to say it right before the game when they know what you're saying about them.
I thought he should have just taken the Spike Lee strategy, and Spike Lee waited to talk to, I believe it was Howard Beck, until right before the game, and he said, yeah, Kobe's definitely not dropping 61 tonight. So Kobe didn't have a chance to see that one before then. Not that necessarily that would have made a difference, but yeah, you got to – I just don't think it's a great look for coaches, even though that's not really trash talk, but to be talking down on a prospect that you didn't select, I just don't think it's a great look. What do you think, Ben?
I mean, the bottom point is shut up. I mean,
yes.
Why are you even indulging in that? I mean, it's meaningless. What do you gain? I mean, it's just shows that, one, you're an asshole for doing that. I mean, why talk ill of other teams' players? Why even indulge in that discussion? There's 1,000 different ways to sound completely non-offensive in that process. And it's easy as, well, I mean, for Moody, for instance, Moody had great tools. We really liked him a lot, but we're really excited about Russell, and we think he has the chance to be really good. Done. That's the blanket statement for every other rookie that the Lakers had a chance to pick number 2. And I mean, you say that over and over again. And I mean, it's a basic PR thing. And I don't know whether Byron's just has such an utter lack of self-consciousness that he's going to essentially be an ass that way. So I mean, and also think about it on Russell's perspective. Why are you even talking about this? Especially and if anything, I mean, he was kind of praising, like, oh, Porzingis looks really well along. Like, well, why are you praising the other team's pick during the same time you're kind of throwing your own pick under the bus? Since, I mean, the comments the past few days about the young guys not playing well and, oh, we want to limit their minutes. I mean, the young guys on the whole have been the team's best players. I mean, the only guy he can be talking about is Russell. And, I mean, it's this little head game nonsense with Russell, it makes no sense. It's not helpful for his development. And I mean, my pet theory is that, I mean, he's searching for the scapegoat to blame. So, I mean, he doesn't have to, I mean, because he can't blame Kobe for sucking. He can't blame the defense for sucking because that's on him. So, I mean, he has to find some other scapegoat to distract from the fact that the team's now, what are we, 1-6? I mean, yeah, 1-6 with nothing better in sight. And I mean, I know the team has apparently a lot of leash with Byron, but I mean, there's going to come a point where even Jim and Jeannie feel that Laker Showtime loyalty only goes so far. So I mean, if anything, this situation might get worse, and it's kind of disturbing to think about that.
If he keeps talking like this, is it a problem that Byron Scott was involved in the decision of drafting D'Angelo Russell?
That's the other thing that I wanted to talk about, because I don't know. It sounded like I saw someone look up from Mitch's comments from this summer. It sounded like Byron didn't even have that much of a say. He basically saw the guys work out and he gave them his opinion, but it didn't sound like it was really like he was the go-to guy. They were like, Byron, all right, final decision. Who do you want to take?
That's what I thought. That's why I was wondering why he was saying all these things. I'm keep asking myself, like, I don't think Byron Scott had a decision or had input in this decision. I think that was Mitch Kupchak all the way.
I mean, maybe they just let him think he had input into. I'm sure he had some input. I'm sure they asked him for his opinion, but he wasn't
Right.
I don't think he was in the draft room making the decision.
No. I mean, altogether, I mean, I'm sure he knows, like, I think the situation is here, he knows the reasons that Jim, Mitch, Ryan Weston, what have you, selected Russell, and I mean, he knows the reasons, or at least he probably asked why they didn't, I mean, he's probably within his rights as a head coach to kind of, he gives his 2 cents, and he asks, like, well, what do you think about X, Y, and Z guys? So I'm sure, so they had Russell, they had Okafor, they had Moutier, they had the whole commute of the top guys. And I'm sure he gave his input about who he liked, and then he'd probably ask about these different guys because he might like those guys too for any given reason, and they might have their. And I think he's kind of, to a certain degree, kind of right. Like if he's trying to speak for the front office as a whole. When he says we made the decision, he's trying to assume for himself, like, oh, we, the whole Lakers organization, whereas not necessarily that he himself had a role in it. And I mean, he's kind of a dick for kind of speaking in that context. but I mean, I think that's where it is. I don't think it's. I mean, Mitch was pretty emphatic, if we were going to refer to those comments, and saying that he had no role in the decision, and I'm pretty happy to believe that all the way through. So I mean, I just think that is what it is. It's kind of Byron's bad framing of the issue.
Yeah. So. Wow, yeah, that got pretty negative for a second there. So we caught me off guard a little bit. We always like to try and end on a little bit of a positive here, just because we got to keep things light. This has not been and it's not going to be the best season in Lakers history. I don't feel like that's controversial to say at all. So as we're going forward on what it sounds like is, by all indications, Kobe's farewell tour, I kind of wanted to ask you guys, what farewell moment, if this is indeed his farewell season, what are you looking most forward to as we head into the rest of this, 2015-16 season? Chinmay, I'll start with you.
Well, I think they're doing a better job of managing Kobe's minutes. And so if there was the optimist in me would say that I want Kobe to play the final game at Staples, or whatever game that would be, and then they win the final game at Staples for him. That would just be the optimist in me. The pessimist would say that he would drop 50 in the All-Star game and then retire after that.
Speaking of that, just as a little quick aside, how mad are Houston fans going to be when Kobe starts over Harden in the All-Star game?
Very upset.
Very
upset.
Not looking forward to the silver screen and roll mentions when that voting comes out. Ben, what farewell moment are you looking most forward to?
Well, on December 30th is when the Lakers play the Celtics in Boston, so that'll be probably Kobe's last time in the Garden. And I'm really interested to see how the Celtics fans treat him on the way out, how he deals with the experience. And so, I mean, that should be really interesting. I mean, it's very kind of franchise with a lot of history. It'd be interesting how they treat a guy with a lot of history who's on kind of his last legs there. And I think that'll be a pretty entertaining game all through. Although if Byron Scott's still there, Brad Stevens is going to coach the socks off him, top to bottom. But I mean, I think it'll still be a pretty entertaining night, all things considered.
Yeah, you guys guys both picked great ones because you picked my top two, so I'm having to go to my third one. I think my third is probably his final. It actually might have been today, just from a storyline perspective, going into the Garden if this hadn't happened already. But his last game in Toronto, I'm excited to watch him drop 82.
Or at least he'll try to drop 82, is what you're saying.
82 shots.
Yeah, 82 shots sounds more realistic.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks for coming on, guys. We just finished up discussing the Lakers' loss to the Knicks. They will next play, I believe, on Tuesday. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yeah, they will play on Tuesday.
Against Miami.
Tuesday against Miami. And from what I'm hearing, Kobe will attempt to play in both games of the back-to-back, so that should be interesting, and that's not exactly what they were saying going into the season. So, no. Chinmay, Ben, I want to thank you guys for coming on. This was a lot of fun. And I am Harrison Fagan. This has been Lakers Late Afternoon, and we are signing off.